The night sky stretched endlessly above the North American Deep Space Listening Array. Dr. Alan Richards sat alone in the monitoring station, his eyes fixed on the screens before him. For the past 3 years, he had spent countless nights searching the cosmos for patterns, for meaning, for anything that might suggest humanity wasn't alone in the vast emptiness of space. Tonight was different. Alan rubbed his tired eyes and leaned closer to the monitor. The same unusual pattern had appeared in his data for the 5th night in a row. It wasn't random noise. It was too structured, too deliberate. His heart raced as he ran the analysis program again. This can't be right, he whispered to himself, though deep down he knew the equipment was functioning perfectly. He had checked it 3 times already. The pattern repeated, again and again, consistent and unwavering. Alan reached for his phone with shaking hands and dialed his colleague's number. "Peter, it's Alan. I need you to come in, now." 4 hours later, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the small monitoring station was crowded with bleary-eyed scientists. Dr. Peter Nelson, Alan's longtime friend and fellow astrophysicist, stared at the data in disbelief. "If what you're suggesting is true, this changes everything," Peter said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Run your own analysis if you don't believe me," Alan replied, pushing a cup of cold coffee aside. "I've been at this all night. It's not an equipment malfunction. It's not a satellite. It's not anything we can explain with current human technology." Dr. Susan Ward, the array's director, crossed her arms. "Are you actually claiming this is an alien signal, Alan? Do you understand what that would mean for your career if you're wrong?" Alan nodded. "I know exactly what I'm saying, and I'm not wrong." He pointed to the screen. "Look at the mathematical precision. Look at the repeating sequences. This isn't random cosmic noise. This is communication." "Then why hasn't SETI picked it up?" Susan challenged. "Because it's not directed at us," Alan explained, pulling up another screen of data. "The signal is passing through our solar system. It's like we're overhearing a conversation meant for someone else." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "I need more time with this data before we tell anyone," Susan finally said. "If word gets out that we're claiming to have discovered alien communication and we're wrong—" "We're not wrong," Alan insisted. Susan raised her hand to silence him. 1 week. We analyze everything in complete secrecy for 1 week. Then we decide. 1 week turned into 2. 2 turned into a month, as the team worked in secret, analyzing the signal from every possible angle. They brought in Dr. Kate Murphy, a linguist and mathematician, to help decipher the patterns. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Kate burst into Alan's office, her eyes wide with excitement. "I found something," she announced, dropping a stack of papers on his desk. "The signal contains mathematical constants, pi, phi, even representations of the fine structure constant. These aren't just random numbers, they're building blocks, the foundation of what could be a language." Alan's hands trembled as he flipped through her work. "Are you sure?" Kate nodded vigorously. "As sure as I can be. Alan, we're not just hearing noise. We're eavesdropping on a conversation between 2 advanced civilizations, and neither of them knows we exist." The next day, government officials arrived at the array. The discovery was too significant to keep quiet any longer. Commander Ellie Brooks of the United States Space Force led the team that would evaluate Alan's findings. Alan watched nervously as Ellie and her technical experts reviewed the data. She was skeptical at first, questioning every conclusion, challenging every assumption. But after 3 days of rigorous examination, even she couldn't deny the truth. "Dr. Richards," she said, extending her hand to him, "I owe you an apology. You've made the most important discovery in human history." Within days, a secure facility was established near the array. The world's governments formed a coalition to study the transmission without causing public panic. Alan, Kate, and Peter were at the center of it all, working alongside military personnel and government scientists. 6 months passed. The team made slow but steady progress in understanding pieces of the alien conversation. They learned that the signal contained vast amounts of information, scientific knowledge, cultural exchanges, and most interestingly, coordinates. It's a map, Kate explained during one of their daily briefings. These sequences here, they're spatial coordinates using universal constants as reference points. A map to what? Ellie asked. To them, Kate replied simply. To the civilizations sending these messages. Alan pointed to another section of the data. And this part here, it's repeating with increasing frequency. We think it might be some kind of distress signal. Distress? Ellie raised an eyebrow. You mean one of these alien civilizations is in trouble? That's our working theory, Alan confirmed. The civilization calling itself, well, we've translated it roughly as Vordana, seems to be sending urgent messages to their allies, the Elzari. They're facing some kind of threat. Dr. Steve Miller, the team's ethicist, spoke up from the back of the room. Even if that's true, it's not our problem. These messages weren't meant for us. We should remain observers only. But if we can help, Alan started. Help? Steve interrupted. We barely understand what they're saying. We have no idea what kind of threat they're facing or if it could pose a danger to Earth. Revealing our existence to advanced alien civilizations could have catastrophic consequences. The debate continued for weeks. President Olivia Martin was briefed on the situation, and a special United Nations session was convened in secret. The question before them was unprecedented. Should humanity remain silent observers or reveal their existence by responding to a message never meant for human ears? As the debate raged on, Alan and Kate continued their work. They made a breakthrough when they deciphered more of the distress message. The Vordana weren't just facing any threat. They were facing extinction from something the team could only translate as the consuming shadow. We have to help them, Alan told Kate late one night as they pored over the data. If we have the ability to reach out, we have a responsibility to try. Kate looked up from her work, her face illuminated by the glow of her computer screen. Even if it means exposing Earth to unknown dangers? Alan nodded slowly. Especially then. What does it say about humanity if we hear a cry for help and choose to do nothing? The next morning, President Martin made her decision. Humanity would answer the call. The message to the Vordana was sent using the combined power of Earth's deep space communication arrays. For 3 weeks, humanity held its breath. Scientists worked around the clock, monitoring for any response. Government leaders prepared contingency plans for every possible outcome. The public remained unaware of the potentially world-changing event taking place. Alan barely slept during this time. He spent his days at the listening array and his nights reviewing data. Kate often stayed with him, the two scientists bound by their shared secret and the weight of what they had done. What if they don't answer? Kate asked one night as they shared a simple meal of sandwiches in the monitoring room. Alan looked up from his screen. They will. How can you be so sure? Because if our positions were reversed, if they detected our distress call, I believe they would respond too. Alan's faith in the unknown aliens surprised even himself. On the 23rd day it happened. Alan was alone in the monitoring station when the first patterns appeared. Different from the original signal, this one was directed specifically at Earth. His hands trembled as he activated the alert system. Within an hour, the room was filled with scientists and military personnel. Commander Brooks was the first to arrive, her uniform hastily put on. Is it real? She demanded. Alan nodded, unable to tear his eyes from the incoming data. They heard us, and they answered. President Martin was informed immediately. The response from the Vordana contained what appeared to be instructions, mathematical formulas and diagrams that the scientists struggled to understand. It's a blueprint, Kate announced after 3 days of intense analysis. They're showing us how to build something. Build what? Steve asked, his earlier objections now forgotten in the excitement of actual alien contact. A communication device, Kate explained, pointing to the complex diagrams. Something more efficient than what we're using now. something that might allow for real-time communication. The president gave her approval. Resources from around the world were secretly gathered. The brightest minds in physics, engineering, and computer science were brought together under the guise of a classified international research project. Dr. Frank Wilson, a quantum physicist who had won the Nobel Prize 5 years earlier, led the construction team. "If I understand these specifications correctly," he told Alan, "this device manipulates subspace in a way that should eliminate the light speed delay in communication." "Is that even possible?" Alan asked. Frank smiled. "According to everything I was taught, no, but according to our new friends out there, absolutely." The device took 2 months to build. It looked deceptively simple. A metal ring, 3 meters, in diameter, filled with a complex array of crystals and circuitry. When they activated it for the first time, the air within the ring shimmered like heat rising from hot pavement. "Now what?" Commander Brooks asked. "Now we wait," Kate replied. "They told us how to build it. They'll know when it's operational." They didn't wait long. That same evening, the device activated on its own. The air within the ring shifted, solidified, and then transformed into something else entirely, a window looking into what appeared to be a vast chamber of crystal and light. And there they were, the Vordana. They weren't what anyone had expected, not the gray aliens of popular culture or anything remotely humanoid. They appeared as crystalline entities, their bodies manipulating light in ways that human physiology could barely comprehend. They moved like living prisms, each motion sending cascades of color rippling through their forms. Through the communication device, the Vordana explained their situation. An aggressive, hive-minded species they called the Nexus was systematically harvesting worlds for resources, leaving dead planets in their wake. The Vordana homeworld was next in the Nexus path. "The Elzari cannot reach us in time," the Vordana representative explained. Its voice was not sound, but rather information directly, interpreted by the communication device. "Their fleets are engaged elsewhere, but your position in the galaxy means you could intervene before the Nexus arrives." "Intervene how?" President Martin asked. She had come personally to witness this historic conversation. "We barely have the technology to reach our own moon reliably. We can help with that," the Vordana responded. "We will provide you with the specifications for drive systems that will allow your vessels to reach us." The offer sparked intense debate among Earth's leaders. Some argued it was a trap, that the Vordana might be luring humans into a conflict. That wasn't their concern. Others saw it as an unprecedented opportunity to advance human technology. Dr. Greg Watson, Earth's premier physicist, was brought in to evaluate the propulsion technology the Vordana offered. After reviewing the specifications, he addressed the president and the gathered officials. "What they're offering us," he said, his voice filled with awe, "is technology that's centuries beyond our current capabilities. Their understanding of physics makes ours look primitive. If we can successfully adapt this to work with our existing spacecraft, we could reach their system in weeks rather than the thousands of years it would take with our current technology." "And if we help them?" Commander Brooks asked. "What do we get in return?" The question was relayed to the Vordana. "Knowledge," came the simple reply. "We are an ancient civilization. We have explored realms of science your people have not yet imagined. Help us survive, and we will share what we know." The offer was too tempting to refuse. In a remarkable display of global cooperation, nations pooled resources to retrofit the experimental spacecraft USS Horizon with the new drive system. The vessel had been designed as a long-term research platform in orbit around Earth, but with the Vordana technology, it would become humanity's first true interstellar ship. Commander Brooks was chosen to lead the mission. Much to his surprise, Alan was asked to join as the scientific liaison. "Me?" he asked when presented with the assignment. "I'm an astrophysicist, not an astronaut." "You're the one who found them," Commander Brooks explained. "You've been working with their communications longer than anyone. We need you on this mission." The night before departure, Alan stood in the observation deck of the space station where the Horizon was docked. Earth hung below, beautiful and fragile. Kate stood beside him, having come to say goodbye. "Are you afraid?" she asked quietly. Alan considered the question. "Yes," he admitted, "but not of going. I'm afraid of what happens if we don't go." Kate nodded. "The Verdana said the Nexus doesn't stop. If they consume the Verdana world, other worlds will follow. Eventually they might find Earth." Alan finished her thought. They stood in silence for a moment, contemplating the weight of the mission ahead. "Come back," Kate finally said. "We still have so much to learn." Alan smiled. "I'll do my best." The next morning, the USS Horizon detached from the station. Its crew of 50, the best pilots, engineers, and scientists Earth had to offer, prepared for humanity's first journey to another star. As the new drive system activated, the stars outside seemed to stretch and bend. The ship shuddered, and then with a flash of light that temporarily blinded the observation instruments, the Horizon vanished from Earth's solar system. Humanity had answered the call. Now they would face whatever waited for them among the stars. The journey to the Verdana system took 17 days. For the crew of the USS Horizon, each day brought new wonders and challenges as they adapted to the alien technology that powered their ship. Alan spent most of his time in the science lab, studying the data they collected during their journey. The Verdana drive system allowed them to travel through what Alan could only describe as folded space, not quite like the wormholes theorized by Earth scientists, but something similar. "It's like we're skipping across the surface of the universe," he explained to Commander Brooks during one of their daily briefings. "Instead of traveling through space, we're briefly stepping outside it and then back in at a different point." "Can you explain that in terms that don't give me a headache?" Brooks asked with a small smile. Alan laughed. "We're going very fast, in a way that shouldn't be possible, and that's all that matters." On the bridge, Lieutenant Sam Collins monitored the ship's defensive systems. Earth's weapons seemed primitive compared to what they might face, but the Horizon had been equipped with the best available technology: railguns, missile systems, and experimental energy shields derived from the Verdana specifications. "Do you think we'll need to fight?" Sam asked Engineer Maria Garcia as they ran system checks. Maria paused her work. "I hope not. But I didn't join this mission thinking it would be safe. None of them had. Every crew member had volunteered knowing they might never return to Earth. On the 17th day, alarms sounded throughout the ship. The Horizon was approaching its destination. "All personnel to stations," Commander Brooks announced over the intercom. "We are entering the Verdana system." The main view screen showed their approach. The Verdana home wasn't a planet as humans understood it. It was a gas giant with floating crystal structures, massive cities suspended within the colorful atmosphere. "It's beautiful," Alan whispered as the image became clearer. A transmission came through on the communication system the Verdana had helped them build. "Human vessel. You are welcome to our home," the message translated. "Please follow the guidance. Coordinates to dock with our primary station." Brooks gave the order, and the Horizon moved toward a massive crystal structure floating near the top of the gas giant's atmosphere. As they approached, they could see thousands of the crystalline Verdana moving through the structure. Their city was as much a part of them as they were of it. Living crystal interacting with architectural crystal in ways that blurred the line between being and dwelling. When they docked, a delegation of Verdana met them at the airlock. Without mouths or any visible means of communication, they spoke directly into the minds of the humans through some form of technology. "We thank you for coming," the leader, who introduced itself as Zenith, communicated. Few would brave the dangers of space to help those they had never met. Brooks stepped forward. "Earth stands with the Verdana. We've brought our best scientists and tactical experts to help in any way we can." Zenith's crystalline form shifted, colors expressing what Alan interpreted as gratitude. "Then we must waste no time. The Nexus approaches. Our sensors detect their fleet at the edge of our system." The humans were led into a vast chamber where dozens of Vordana worked at stations, made of the same crystal material as their bodies. Displays showed the approaching Nexus fleet, a swarm of biomechanical ships that moved with disturbing coordination, like a single organism rather than individual vessels. Alan studied the displays with growing concern. "How many ships are there?" 217, Zenith answered, each capable of destroying one of your Earth cities with a single strike. Sam let out a low whistle. "And our weapons?" "Will be ineffective against their shields," Zenith admitted. "We had hoped to have more time to adapt your technology, but the Nexus has increased their speed." The mood in the chamber darkened. Even with the advanced Vordana technology, the horizon was just one ship against an armada. "There must be something we can do," Brooks insisted. "We didn't come all this way to surrender." Before Zenith could respond, alarms blared throughout the Crystal City. A Vordana operator sent a cascade of colors through its body, their equivalent of excited speech. "Another fleet has entered the system," Zenith translated, "but it's not the Nexus." The displays shifted to show massive, organic-looking vessels entering the system from the opposite direction of the Nexus fleet. These ships resembled great sea creatures, their hulls flowing like the bodies of whales. The Elzari, Zenith's colors brightened. They received our message after all. The new ships moved with grace despite their size. The largest was nearly 10 times the size of the horizon. As they approached the Crystal City, a communication came through. "Vordana, we have come as promised." A deep, resonant voice filled the chamber. "We see you have found new allies." A face appeared on the main display, if it could be called a face. The Elzari resembled massive tentacled cetaceans, their bodies clearly adapted for life in liquid. They navigated space within water-filled vessels that maintained their natural environment. "These are humans," Zenith explained. "They intercepted our distress call and came to our aid when they believed you could not arrive in time." The Elzari representative studied the humans through the display. Its massive eyes blinked slowly. "Curious," it said finally. "Our data suggested their civilization was pre-stellar, yet here they are, far from their world." Its tone changed to something like approval. "Brave, for such a young species." "Commander," Brooks stepped forward. "We may be young, but we're ready to help." "Your courage is noted, human commander," the Elzari responded. "But this conflict is beyond your capabilities. The Nexus will destroy your single vessel in moments." "Maybe not," Sam interrupted. All eyes turned to the tactical officer. "Sorry for speaking out of turn, Commander, but I've been studying the Nexus fleet movements. They move with perfect coordination, almost too perfect." "What are you suggesting?" "Lieutenant?" Brooks asked. "They're a hive mind, right?" Sam looked to Zenith, who flashed confirmation. "So they think as one. Their movements are predictable because they're all following the same logic. But humans..." Sam smiled. "We're anything but logical sometimes." Alan caught on. "You're suggesting we use our unpredictability as a weapon?" "Exactly," Sam nodded eagerly. "The Vordana and Elzari both evolved as highly logical mathematical species. But humans are emotional, creative, sometimes irrational. We make intuitive leaps, we take risks that don't compute." The Elzari representative made a sound like water rushing. "You propose to fight the Nexus with chaos?" "I propose we fight them with humanity," Sam replied simply. A strategy session followed. The Elzari contributed their massive ships and powerful weapons. The Vordana offered their advanced technology and knowledge of the Nexus, and the humans provided what no one expected would be valuable: unpredictable battle tactics that no logical mind would consider. As they prepared for the Nexus arrival, Alan found himself working closely with the Vordana scientists, integrating human tactical thinking into their defense systems. It was a strange partnership, crystalline beings of pure logic working alongside a human who kept suggesting what must have seemed like madness to them. "You truly believe this will work?" a Vordana scientist named Echo asked Alan as they finalized their preparations. Alan looked at the display showing the approaching Nexus fleet. "I believe we have to try." The combined fleet of human, Vordana, and Elzari ships moved into position. The USS Horizon took its place in the formation, small compared to its allies but carrying humanity's hopes. Commander Brooks addressed her crew one final time before battle. Whatever happens today, remember this. We're making history. Humanity's first interstellar battle. Let's make sure it's a story worth telling when we get home. The Nexus fleet entered weapons range. The battle for the Vordana homeworld was about to begin. The Nexus fleet approached like a dark cloud across the stars. Their ships were neither beautiful like the crystal vessels of the Vordana, nor majestic like the organic craft of the Elzari. They were angular, black machines that moved in perfect, terrifying harmony. On the bridge of the USS Horizon, Commander Brooks watched the enemy's approach on the main view screen. Her face showed no fear, though her hands gripped the arms of her command chair tightly. All weapons systems ready, Sam reported from the tactical station. Though I'm not sure how much damage we can actually do. We stick to the plan, Brooks reminded everyone. Our job isn't to outgun them, it's to confuse them. The plan they had developed was unlike anything the Vordana or Elzari would have created on their own. It relied on unpredictable movements, fake retreats, and sudden attacks from unexpected angles. Tactics that seemed illogical, but might throw off the perfect coordination of the Nexus hive mind. The Nexus have entered weapons range, Sam announced. They're targeting the largest Elzari vessel first. As expected, Brooks nodded. Signal the fleet. Operation Chaos begins now. The battle erupted across space. The Nexus ships fired in unison, their energy weapons cutting through the darkness. But the Allied fleet didn't respond as expected. Instead of the logical defensive formation the Nexus might have anticipated, the ships scattered in seemingly random patterns. The Horizon shot forward, directly toward the heart of the Nexus formation. It was a move that seemed like suicide, which was exactly why the Nexus didn't predict it. The human ship slipped through their front line before the enemy could adjust their targeting. Fire countermeasures, Brooks ordered. The Horizon released dozens of small probes that broadcasted conflicting sensor readings. To the Nexus, it suddenly appeared as if there were multiple Horizons moving in different directions. It's working, Sam exclaimed. They're splitting their fire, trying to target all the false signals. Alan watched from the science station, monitoring the Nexus response patterns. Their coordination is impressive. They're adapting quickly. Indeed, the Nexus fleet was already beginning to ignore the false signals and focus on real targets again. But the brief confusion had given the Elzari time to position their largest ships behind the Nexus fleet. Phase 2, Brooks commanded. The Horizon fired its main engines, burning hard away from the Nexus formation. 3 Vordana ships followed, appearing to retreat alongside the human vessel. The Nexus ships nearest to them gave chase, breaking their perfect formation to pursue what they perceived as fleeing enemies. This was what they had hoped for, a break in the hive mind's unified action. As soon as the Nexus ships separated from their main group, the Elzari struck from behind while the Vordana attacked from the sides. For a moment, it seemed their plan was working perfectly. Several Nexus ships were caught in the crossfire and destroyed, but the victory was short-lived. The Nexus quickly reorganized, and their counterattack was devastating. 2 Vordana ships shattered into crystal fragments. An Elzari vessel listed, to one side venting water and debris into space, and the Horizon itself took a direct hit to its starboard section. Damage report, Brooks shouted over the blaring alarms. Decks 7 through 9 are open to space, an officer reported. Shields down to 30%. We can't take another hit like that. Brooks made a quick decision. Fall back to the secondary position. Alert the Vordana and Elzari commanders. The Allied fleet regrouped near one of the Vordana's larger crystal cities. The Nexus pursued at a measured pace, their formation once again perfect and unified. In the city's command center, the leaders of all 3 species gathered to reassess. Our tactics created temporary disruption, but the Nexus adapts too quickly. The Elzari commander, who called itself Deep Current, observed. Its massive body floated in a transparent tank of water that allowed it to participate in the meeting. We need something they can't adapt to, Brooks insisted. Something they've never encountered before. Alan had been quiet during the meeting, his mind racing through possibilities. Now he looked up. What if we target the command ship directly? All eyes turned to him. The Nexus operates as a hive, Alan continued. But even a hive has a queen. There must be a central ship coordinating the others. Zenith's crystal body flashed with colors. We have never been able to identify such a vessel. They all appear identical. Not to our sensors, Alan replied. During the battle, I was scanning their communication patterns. There's one ship at the center of their formation that receives data from all others before new commands are issued. It's subtle, but it's there. He displayed his findings on a nearby screen. The data showed a slight delay, mere microseconds, between information flowing into one particular Nexus ship and new commands flowing out to the fleet. That's their brain, Alan said simply. Even if you're right, Deep Current's voice rumbled. Their central ship will be the most heavily defended. We cannot reach it. Maybe we can, Maria Garcia spoke up from beside Brooks. The engineer had been silent until now. The horizon is small compared to your vessels. If we reconfigure our drive system to make micro jumps, we might be able to bypass their outer defenses. Micro jumps? Zenith questioned. Small, controlled jumps through folded space, Maria explained. Instead of traveling all the way to another star, we jump just a few kilometers at a time. It would be dangerous. The calculations would have to be perfect, but it might get us close enough to deliver a direct strike on the command ship. A heavy silence fell over the room as everyone considered the implications. Such a mission would likely be one way. The horizon would almost certainly be destroyed once it revealed itself so deep within enemy territory. I'll go, Maria said, reading the room. We can use one of our shuttles. It would be easier to make the precise jumps with a smaller vessel. No. Brooks shook her head. I can't order anyone on a suicide mission. You don't have to order me, Maria replied calmly. I'm volunteering. Before Brooks could respond, alarms sounded throughout the Crystal City. The Nexus had begun their attack on the Vordana homeworld. Their weapons fire struck the upper layers of the gas giant's atmosphere, sending shockwaves through the floating crystal structures. We're out of time, Zenith said, colors pulsing rapidly through its form. If we cannot stop them now, our people are finished. Brooks looked at Maria, then at Alan. Can you make this work? Can you find that command ship again and guide Maria to it? Alan nodded. I can pinpoint it, and I can reach it, Maria added with quiet certainty. Brooks took a deep breath, then nodded. Prepare the shuttle. We'll create a diversion to draw as much of their fleet away as possible. As the others mobilized, Alan pulled Maria aside. What are you planning to do once you reach the command ship? Our weapons won't penetrate their shields at close range any better than they do at a distance. Maria smiled. That's where your research comes in. You said the Nexus operates on perfect logic, right? Their minds are linked in perfect harmony? Alan nodded, not seeing her point. So what happens to a system based on perfect logic when you introduce something completely illogical? She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data drive. I've been working on this since we learned about the Nexus. It's a program that generates completely random, contradictory data patterns. No logic, no pattern, just pure chaos. Understanding dawned on Alan's face. You're going to upload it into their system. If I can get close enough, Maria confirmed. The perfect logic of their hive mind might not be able to process true randomness. It might create a cascade failure throughout their entire network. Alan stared at her. That's brilliant and completely insane. Maria laughed. Well, that's humanity for you. Now help me find that command ship. As the Allied fleet prepared for their final stand, the shuttle was readied. Maria made her final checks while Alan programmed the targeting data into its navigation system. The fate of 3 civilizations now rested on one small ship and the unpredictable nature of human thinking. The shuttle bay doors opened to the vastness of space. Maria sat at the controls of the small craft, her face illuminated by the glow of instrument panels. Through the viewport, she could see the battle raging, flashes of weapons fire, the crystal, ships of the Vordana catching and reflecting the light, the massive organic vessels of the Elzari moving with surprising grace. All systems ready, she reported over the communication link. Jump drive is calibrated for micro-jumps. We'll create the diversion as planned. Commander Brooks's voice came through. Wait for my signal. On the bridge of the horizon, Brooks turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Sam, are all ships in position? Sam nodded. Yes, Commander, the Vordana and Elzari are ready. Then let's give Maria her chance. Brooks straightened in her chair. All ships, execute pattern Delta. Full attack on the Nexus front. Line. The Allied fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. The Nexus responded exactly as expected, shifting their formation to meet the threat. As they did, the path to their center briefly opened. Now, Maria, Brooks ordered. Go. In the shuttle. Maria activated the jump drive. The stars outside her viewport seemed to stretch, then snap back into place. In an instant, she had moved 5 kilometers closer to the Nexus command ship. First jump successful, she reported, her voice steady despite the danger. 4 more to go. Alan watched from the science station on the horizon, tracking Maria's progress. She's doing it, he told Brooks. The Nexus haven't detected her yet. The battle intensified around them. The horizon shook as enemy fire struck its shields. Damage reports flooded in from all decks. But they had to hold the Nexus' attention, just a little longer. Maria completed her second jump, then her third. Each time the shuttle disappeared and reappeared closer to the heart of the enemy fleet. The micro-jumps were working exactly as she had hoped, allowing her to bypass the outer defenses of the Nexus formation. 2 more jumps, she reported. Her voice now contained a hint of strain. The calculations for each jump had to be perfect. A single error would send her shuttle into the path of a Nexus ship or worse, cause a catastrophic drive failure. On her 4th jump, something went wrong. The shuttle reappeared too close to a Nexus vessel. Alarms blared as her shuttle was scanned by enemy sensors. They've detected me. Maria's voice was tight with tension. I'm taking evasive action. The shuttle twisted and rolled, narrowly avoiding enemy fire. Maria's hands flew across the controls, pushing the small craft beyond its design limits. But she was running out of options. I won't be able to make the final jump precisely, she told Alan. I need the exact coordinates of the command ship now. Alan worked frantically, updating his analysis of the Nexus communication patterns. Sending you the coordinates now. But Maria, if you can't make a precise jump, I'll have to go in the hard way, she finished for him. Just keep them busy. The shuttle changed course, accelerating directly toward the center of the Nexus formation. Enemy fire converged on the small craft, hitting its shields and then its hull. Warning lights flashed across Maria's control panel. Shields failing, she reported calmly. Hull breach on the aft section, but I'm still moving. On the horizon, Brooks watched the shuttle's approach on the tactical display. All ships concentrate fire on Sector 7. We need to draw their attention away from that shuttle. The Allied fleet responded, focusing their attack on a section of the Nexus formation opposite from Maria's approach. Some of the enemy ships turned to respond, but many remained focused on the small human craft that had somehow penetrated their defenses. I'm almost there. Maria's voice came through, now broken with static. I can see the command ship, her shuttle, trailing debris and atmosphere, pushed toward a Nexus vessel that looked identical to all the others, but which Alan had identified as the central coordinator. The enemy fire intensified, ripping into the shuttle's remaining defenses. My controls are failing, Maria reported. Going to manual approach. What she didn't say was that manual approach meant a collision course. The shuttle's engines flared one last time, driving it directly toward the command ship. Maria, Alan began, then stopped. What could he say? It's okay. Her voice was calm. This is where humanity shines, right? Doing the unexpected. There was a pause then. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them we made friends among the stars. The shuttle struck the Nexus command ship at full speed. On impact, Maria activated the program she had created, the one designed to send pure chaos into the perfectly logical mind of the Nexus. The data upload began immediately, forcing its way into the enemy's systems. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then one by one the Nexus ships began to falter. Their perfect formation wavered. Some stopped firing. Others fired at random targets, including other Nexus vessels. "It's working," Alan whispered, watching the sensor readings. The command structure is breaking down. The effect cascaded through the enemy fleet. Without the central coordination that had made them so formidable, the individual ships seemed lost. The Allied fleet pressed their advantage, picking off the confused enemies one by one. In the aftermath, as the last Nexus ships were destroyed or drove away in disarray, a solemn mood fell over the victorious Allies. They had won, but at a terrible cost. The ceremony was held in the great crystal hall of the Vordana city. Representatives of all three species gathered to honor those who had fallen, especially Maria Garcia, whose sacrifice had saved them all. Zenith's crystalline form glowed with soft blues and purples as it addressed the gathering. Today marks the beginning of a new alliance. Though we come from different worlds and different forms, we share common values: courage, sacrifice, and the willingness to help others, even at great risk to ourselves. Deep Current, the Elzari commander, added, its deep, resonant voice. The Nexus believed their perfect logic made them superior. They failed to understand that there is strength in diversity, in unpredictability, in what our human friends call thinking outside the box. Commander Brooks stepped forward next. Maria Garcia embodied the best of humanity. She didn't come here seeking glory or power. She came because someone needed help and she could provide it. That's who we are at our best. Alan stood quietly at the side of the hall, his thoughts both on the friend they had lost and on the incredible journey they had made. When Zenith approached him after the ceremony, he was still lost in reflection. "Your people have surprised us," the Vordana leader communicated. "We believed ourselves to be far more advanced than humans in every way. But there are forms of intelligence we had not considered, types of strength we had never encountered. We're still learning ourselves," Alan replied. "Still growing. And now you will not grow alone," Zenith said. "The knowledge we promised is yours. Our technology, our science, our understanding of the universe. We will share it all." 3 days later, the USS Horizon prepared to return to Earth. Its hull had been repaired with Vordana technology, its systems upgraded beyond what any human engineer could have imagined. On the observation deck, Alan looked out at the crystal cities floating in the gas giant's atmosphere. Commander Brooks joined him there. "Ready to go home?" she asked. Alan nodded, with quite a story to tell. "More than a story," Brooks replied. "We're bringing back the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. New allies, new technology, new understanding of our place in the universe." As the Horizon pulled away from the Vordana homeworld, Alan thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had started with a signal, a message never meant for human ears. Yet by answering it, humanity had taken its first true steps into the galactic community. The signal wasn't meant for humans, but they had answered anyway, and in doing so, they had discovered that they had something valuable to offer after all. Not advanced technology or ancient wisdom, but the uniquely human qualities of creativity, compassion, and the courage to face the unknown. As Earth appeared on their view screens after the long journey home, Alan knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity had answered an unexpected call, and in return, they had found their place among the stars.